Support for this podcast comes from the Michigan Lottery. Want to add a little play to your day? The Michigan Lottery has over 80 online instant games with prizes up to $500,000. A St. Clair County woman won $100,000 playing online. Could you be next? Get 10 free games with promo code PRIZE when you sign up online today. Visit MichiganLottery.com to start playing.
Bob Saget's here for you. That's right, that's me. And I'm talking in third person, which means I need to see my shrink, but he's not returning my calls. But I've got a podcast that's out now that I'm really excited about, and I know I'm the last person to do it. No, I'm the first comedian who's ever done a podcast. The podcast is called Bob Saget's Here for You, and I'm doing it because even the neighbor kid has one. There's a pony down the street that has one, a gopher, and so I'm starting one. You want to subscribe now to where you get your downloads, and I will be there. But it will have occasional guests that will be meaningful to me, and I hope to you. And it'll just be me talking to you guys, and I'll be on the phone sometimes, just talking to my agent, complaining about things. But mostly it's to bring you entertainment and to spend some time with you and be real. Bob Saget's here for you, and I'll be there.
You're listening to Comedy Central.
Good day, all you Rose Battle fans and fiends. This is a very special bonus episode. This is going to be just the conversation. No battles, no music, no judges going on and on. Just the conversation. And we've been doing this podcast or a version like it for a while. This is the first time we've ever done this. Based on Anthony Jeselnik's fans on Twitter, you guys want to hear more of this guy talk. And that's cool. For you guys that don't understand the process, we get somebody in, we talk to them for a long time, then we do our best to let you connect with the guest, as well as get some really cool roast battle jokes in there. We're going to do something crazy and just give you the straight interview, nothing, no edit, nothing like that. This is just Anthony, Greg, Pat, myself, and Moses. And then we're also going to drop another episode Thursday morning, just like we always do. So we appreciate your downloads. If you're a fan and you fuck with us, please leave us a review on wherever the hell you can leave a podcast review. It's the only way that we can send shots at our haters. Thank you.
Roast Battle's being taken over by Gregg Rosenthal, the famous Gregg Rosenthal. Thank you for being here, Greg.
Yeah, what's up?
And you brought a friend of yours.
Never been called the famous Gregg Rosenthal.
You're welcome, Greg.
Bringing my much more famous friend Anthony here.
Yeah, Anthony Jeselnik is in the house. I brought Greg here today to sit next to me while you guys talk to me.
This is that Roast Battle podcast. Next voice is going to be Coach T's.
Hey, what's going on?
And you know Pat Barker.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And we've got the Rosenthal Jeselnik takeover today.
Something like that.
We're like the only other podcast, or one of the only other podcasts on Comedy Central podcasts,
right.
I guess is what they call it.
A lot of podcasts.
The Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project. JRVP. Check it out.
See, what you need is, you need some little stick to start your show. You know?
I got nothing.
Don't call it shtick ever. I hate the word shtick.
You hate the word shtick?
Oh, I hate it. So I think every comic does. I think every actor does too.
I've heard that before. And when my mom, I think, said the word shtick and you berated her.
It's demeaning.
For saying that.
No, he
you're
berated her
shtick.
for being Jewish, not for shtick.
How's your podcast going?
Well, we think. I mean, Comedy Central seems.
What's it about? Like, what do you guys talk sports, right?
Not really.
What's the background here?
Greg is a analyst for the NFL Network.
Damn right.
And so he has his own podcast, which I've never heard of.
How'd you get into that, Greg? Like, how are you an NFL analyst? Did you play the game?
No, look at me. Like I'm a small, skinny Jewish guy.
Like a handsome Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
He's like the John Clayton of the NFL Network.
Oh, that's too much credit.
Like a better looking John Clayton. I'll take that.
Same haircut.
No.
Does he really have the long hair in the back?
No,
that was a rumor.
He's got a rat tail.
He
does. He does.
Doesn't.
There was a commercial where he headbangs.
That was what do you think the first thing I did at the first Super Bowl I covered was? It was to go find John Clayton and stand behind him. And no, he doesn't have a rat tail.
That's a bummer.
Well,
at least you
got
busted.
I started in fantasy football, writing about that at this place, Roto World, and then found my way to NBC and NFL.
Nice. A young Bob Costas. And Jeselnik. Why'd you guys link up in college? You guys became friends, right?
Yeah, freshman
what
year.
drew you to Greg?
Wait, what?
What drew you to Greg?
We were both like the funny ones of our group of friends. Like we were in a fraternity. We pledged a fraternity, and then kind of like we're like, this sucks. But when we were pledges, we were like the two funny guys.
Okay.
And then I kept on being funny, and Greg
Got into fantasy football.
Greg got real.
But you did admit one night, like I didn't even provoke it, that you're like, you said sophomore year you thought like we were equally funny. So like at one point I could have been
You were as close to my equal as possible.
I was like, damn. I was like, okay. I was like, I agree. I mean, but
I thought you were funny. Like I thought you were the funniest one that wasn't me. So that means a lot. But then you just did, like Jerry Seinfeld would say, like everyone was funny, and then people went and got real jobs.
That's true.
That's true.
That's why I'm in a bad spot here, being on like a roast battle podcast.
But you're a
with
fan.
a bunch of funny people.
You
We
come
think
for
you're okay.
sports.
Yeah.
Come
I think
on.
you're the second funniest guy in the room still.
Might be right about that.
Yeah, you probably got
Fair,
it.
yeah.
You probably got it.
Anyway,
So,
Jeselnik.
when did you start doing comedy right after college?
Like about a year after college, I moved out here to LA and like just kind of like bummed around. Like Greg and I had internships out here, and then Greg got the job, at the company, and I didn't. So I was like looking for work all the time.
Okay.
And took a stand-up comedy class, and then started
Greg
doing
Dean?
open mics. Yeah, Greg Dean. Yeah, on
He's
Santa
got the
Monica.
hardest name in comedy.
Greg Dean.
Nigga Greg Dean.
Yeah.
On Greg Dean.
Every time I do something, he tweets about it. It'd be like, my former student, Anthony Jeselnik. Like, oh.
Yeah. He's like the pimp now. He's like,
Yeah.
look at my girl getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Greg Dean.
I remember that. Didn't I go to your final
I think
show
you were the first
for
one.
that?
They would have like
Did
a
it
class
help?
graduation. It helped me. Like, I didn't have the balls to just go to an open mic for the first time. Like, I didn't know what it was like. I know it was funny, but I hadn't seen that much comedy. That just taking a class gave me like what I needed to go up to an open mic for the first time. But I remember the first time I was on stage killing. A lot of people the first time on stage you kill. I look back at that tape and it's humiliating. But at the time I thought I killed. And then I went to my first open mic and I bombed so hard with the same material that I didn't get on stage for like 3 months. I would like go to open mics and just not put my name on, or just like not even go inside. And then the movie Comedian came out. With Jerry Seinfeld, and it was just like, just keep doing it, and you're gonna be bad, and it's gonna get better. And I was like, got it. And from then on out, I don't think I've taken more than a week or two off in 16 years.
Ooh,
yeah.
look at
Yeah.
that guy. We needed to hear
Yeah.
that.
Greg, what do you do?
What do you mean?
Hey, I'm gonna push.
$10,000.
I'm gonna push this not because I'm rude and don't have social skills, but we edit the fuck out of this, and I know you guys are super duper busy. You used to have a show on Comedy Central, and what was the name of it?
The Jeselnik Offensive.
Man, I submitted.
What happened to what happened to that show? And the reason why I'm getting that because I think that you might have some shit to talk, and I kind of want to hear it.
I mean, I've definitely talked it. All the shit I possibly talk. Like,
Yeah, I want that shit on my podcast. I want that shit on my
from the
podcast.
top.
I wasn't quiet about it. And I think that, like, looking back, like now that I've kind of made up with Comedy Central, there was fault on both sides of the thing. I think the fact that the show was called the Jeselnik Offensive was like its blessing and its curse, because we got away with a lot of stuff we wouldn't have gotten away with, but we had to keep pushing it. And when the network just, kind of wasn't on board, or if we missed with an offensive bit and got into trouble, it wasn't the kind of trouble that I thought we would get into that it would help us. It would be like, oh, this controversy happened, watch next week's show to see what they say about it. They were like, this controversy happened, you can't talk about it on the next episode. Or people didn't care as much as they should have, but Viacom was hearing about it. So, and then when they let me go, it was just bad blood. Like when Jordan Klepper got canceled, they were like, we're ending the show, but we're signing him to a deal to do this other thing.
Right.
If they had done that with me, I think I would have been cool. But just being like, no, it didn't work out. Like maybe in 3 or 4 years we'll try again.
And
I was
they did.
like, I'm gonna go do something else. And then eventually,
You got that
after
deal.
talking trash for 4 years, I got this deal.
I mean, that was how
That's interesting.
that was how the cancellation kind of came out. I remember was you just talking shit about it at one of your sets, and then someone wrote about that.
I had the crowd, and I had a sold out town hall New York City crowd chant "Fuck Comedy Central."
Really?
And they put that in the press release, and like Comedy Central was like, "What? Like, why would you say that?" And I was like, "I'm on stage, man. I just announced it was canceled. Like, the crowd was loving it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do?" I would say this to your face.
Right.
Wow. So what did they do that pissed you off?
Just the handcuffs, it was kind of like they wanted it to succeed so badly, and we would make changes to the show based on other shows they had. Like a lot of the things I had to do on my show were because of The Burn, and The Burn was over by the time my first show aired.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have a podium because Jeff had a podium. I had to do things differently just because of that show, because of Tosh. That I was like, why am I reacting to all these things as opposed to just making the show that I want? And it got frustrating. And after the first season, I came back and we had a big fight about some Twitter things I had done and some bits on the show that really caused some controversy. So season 2, it was like, all right, let's just try to keep focused and start fresh. And the ratings for the first episode were like half of what season 1 was because we were airing in the summer, not after Tosh. Now we're after Drunk History, the premiere season. So it was just, people just weren't watching it, and I knew from the first episode that this was going to get canceled, but I had to keep doing it every week for 8 more weeks, and that by the end of it, I wanted to fucking kill somebody.
Yeah.
Like I remember the last episode just being like, I hope this is over. I want this to be over. And I think a lot of that was burnout. I did a tour in between seasons, and the seasons were like a couple months apart, as opposed to just relaxing and recharging. I mean, it just when you fail, you can blame a lot of people. If that show had been a success, all the fights we got into would have been, just part of it.
Winning cures everything.
Exactly.
Right.
And you hated your writers too, right?
So, there were a couple. It's hard when you do a show because in between seasons you lose a lot of people. And you're just like, oh, this is.
I remember one in particular, my homeboy David Taylor.
No, we had to let Taylor go.
I know. He told me, he's like, you should submit. I'm getting let go. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But it was a good staff, though, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was an interesting staff. Mm-hmm. But I always thought the best things on the show kind of came from me. Like it was my show. Like it was like whatever. They wrote some great jokes, but a lot of the ideas were mine. That I'm like, oh, if I'm going to do another show, which I am, let it just all run through me. Like I'll have some writers, but just like let's just sit in a room and talk until I think of the idea. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want from my writers
there
now.
You go.
It just seems more fun, and then more off the cuff stuff because you can't get notes on that. They can't be like, oh, this we don't know about this bit. Like I just did it. Either edit it or leave it in. But we're not going to fight.
So anything that you did that you were like, maybe I went too far.
Sure. Like when we got in trouble for what was called Shark Party, where we one of the original ideas for the show that I couldn't wait to do was when a guy gets eaten by a shark or someone gets eaten by a shark, let's have like a celebration of it.
Okay.
And kind of the point was like we kill hundreds of millions of sharks a year, like 12 people get killed and everyone's afraid of sharks. But we're doing this bit and it's like this is a dance number. It's like really out there, and Comedy Central's like excited. They're like, this is going to separate you from everybody else. It's going to be crazy.
Okay.
Shark Party.
And I'm like, okay, we're setting it up. And we see the picture of the guy who got eaten. He's this guy from New Zealand.
Is it a real guy?
It's a real guy.
Oh yeah.
And he's smiling in the picture. And I'm like, can we show that picture? show him on the screen? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. And then we did it, and that's what flipped everybody out.
They got lit up.
That they were like, you shouldn't have done that. And I was like, we asked you. You said yes. You were in the room when we shot it. Like we could have done anything. I had no idea. I was like, oh, we're allowed? Okay. And then they sent it to New Zealand. Like the Comedy Central, New Zealand doesn't know who I am. They don't get this show.
Right.
And I think if someone in Florida had gotten eaten, people would have been fine with it. Me doing that, but New Zealand
people would have
flipped
celebrated.
out.
Like a nationalist thing.
So Viacom is hearing about it, and they're like, "Who? What? Like, why are we getting these phone calls about this guy? Like, what the hell?"
This guy.
And then when they would always Comedy Central would always come back to that. I was like, "You shouldn't have done that." And I was like, we were all excited for that.
Hold
bit,
on, they kept coming back to you, being like, "You shouldn't have did that," even though they signed off on it.
Mm-hmm. They were just like, that's an example of what they would call. They would say the big note I would get was dark for the sake of being dark. Like, don't just be dark for the sake of being dark. That my production company, like at the end of my special or my TV, even my TV show for Comedy Central, the production company is called Dark for the Sake of Being Dark. Like that's how much that annoyed me.
Have you been to New Zealand since?
I've never been, and I'll never go. Like I'm going to Australia at the end of February, but I won't. That's as close as I get to New Zealand.
Are you gonna start a fuck New Zealand chant?
Probably not. I bet some New Zealanders come over. And my mom loves New Zealand wine, and she's always wanted to go to New Zealand. And I'm like, no.
I mean,
I'm not going to let Jeselnik go.
Wow.
So maybe if I keep it quiet for a little while, then maybe eventually she can get over there.
But wait, was all the anger coming from New Zealand?
Mm-hmm.
And Comedy Central doesn't broadcast in New Zealand?
I'm sure they have some version of it. But my TV show, like they didn't. No one in New Zealand knew who I was.
I guess I'm just curious why Comedy Central gives a fuck.
Yeah, why
like
they
if you're
snitch, by
if you're
the way.
getting
Yeah,
those
they, like,
calls
served up for no
from
reason.
10,000 miles away, who cares?
because
Just
shit
hang up
rolls,
the phone.
because shit rolls downhill. Like it was like they weren't calling Comedy Central, they were calling Viacom.
Nah.
And so Viacom's like, what the hell? Like, so they're yelling at Comedy Central.
But that you weren't mad that you heard the New Zealand shark guy.
No.
Like, it sounds like you're just mad that Comedy Central tripped out about it. Anything you did that you're like,
No, because
maybe I went too hard.
I think if I hadn't
Parameters.
shown the picture, if we hadn't shown the picture, that would have been better for that bit. If they hadn't sent it out on the internet, I think it would have been under the radar.
Right.
But
But you're not. But you're not mad that guy's got his feelings hurt.
No, I mean he's dead.
Right. The shark got him.
It was his family. Like the media went to the guy's wife and kids and showed it to him, and was like, "What do you think about this?"
Were you mad about
I mean,
that?
that's dark for the
I was
sake of being
annoyed.
dark Comedy
I was
Central.
annoyed with the media. Like I was annoyed that
Yeah.
the journalists would go and do that to them. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't like, "Hey, I hope the guy's wife is watching." I didn't even know he had a wife.
Yeah.
But it was funny because they would like they'd be like, New Zealand's Today Show wants to interview you via Skype, and I was like, should I do this? And everyone was like, absolutely not. Like, this will be the worst interview.
You should have done it.
Yeah, I guess taken out of context, look at this guy have a party about your husband being eaten by a shark. Yeah, that'll hit you.
She'll take it personally.
But my thing is, it's a joke. You weren't intended for all of that. Like you ain't hurt him.
That's why, like the next week, I tried to do a bit about their reaction.
Yeah.
And the studio audience didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know that New Zealand had gotten upset. It wasn't a big enough story. They knew about Shark Party, but not that I was getting any blowback for it. So we just had to cut it and do something else.
If you want to drive Anthony crazy, you can still send him the GIF on Twitter of like Anthony dancing at the shark party.
That doesn't drive me crazy. I love it. I love the gifts that have come out of the Jeselnik offensive are like my favorites. Those will last longer than the show, and I think the show is remembered more fondly than it was when it was on the air, just because of the way I've spoken about it. You know, like the fact that I've
I love that
dedicated a stand-up
I really
special
do.
to defending it.
Thoughts and prayers?
Have you done anything that you were mad about? How to like you felt like, damn, I hurt that dude or girl or people. Like you were really mad, not the reaction,
I mean,
but
yeah,
you.
because you edge freedom of speech. That's like your thing. Like
Yeah.
you're constantly like jerking off freedom of speech until like I'm not gonna make you come. But I'm not gonna offend anybody. Like you're getting right there.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about your style.
Motherfucker,
No,
horny.
I hate.
came to the podcast horny.
I hate when comics talk about freedom of speech. Like, this is America. Everyone's got freedom of speech. We're selling tickets. You know what I mean? No one wants to come
All
and
I
hear
want
your
for the
freedom of
soundbite.
speech. You better be funny.
Unless they live in New Zealand, then they're all over it.
Yeah. I think it was my dancing that offended them.
Just trying to get to the soundbite, Ant. Damn.
That was
really
a good one.
That was a nerve.
I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. Sorry.
No, it's
It was your weird blue balls metaphor.
I
that-
guess. Sorry. Yeah. I've been. Yeah.
Comedy Central asked us to do a new description for our podcast because ours doesn't really make sense. Maybe we can use that whole freedom of speech thing you just hit up.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we exercise our freedom of speech. Greg exercises freedom of speech, and Anthony's funny. We did that.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, our show is supposed to be about sports, and then we kind of now it's like we talk about.
Oh, you're not
whatever.
doing it anymore.
No, we're doing it, but it's not. We barely touch on sports. People are like, I'd love to listen to it, but I don't follow sports. They're like, it wouldn't matter.
Because it started on the NFL, at the NFL in the 2015 season, and we kind of convinced a couple bosses of mine to do it, but it was pretty under the radar, and it was Anthony, so it was edgy, and you know, by midway through, it just became something that they just wanted to be over. Like, very few people in the NFL even knew it existed. Like, it's amazing it's even sitting there now, considering some of the content. Like, involved Roger Goodell, although we were nice with him, but it's a lot of abortion stuff and all sorts of
if
ridiculous.
Goodell ever listened to it, you were like, if any of like the higher ups,
Like, if anyone had listened to it, like, I would have gotten fired. So we were trying to keep
Okay.
it under the radar. And by the end of the season, we were just like hoping to land it without anyone noticing. But people really liked it. So it made sense that it was about football there, and we thought we would do that here, and then we don't bother.
What did you guys talk about? Like, what did you touch on in the NFL?
It's all domestic violence and
Yeah,
concussions.
we would
Oh,
talk
really?
about off the field stuff because I'm not going to be like, oh, they should have gone for it on fourth down there.
Okay.
You know, but I'm not going to be an analyst like Greg. But we could talk about off the field, like Greg Hardy's, bed full of guns was like a running gag on the show. We have to edit a lot, and they knew that if they were just like, stop it, guys, you're canceled, that I would like they were like worried I would tweet something like negative about the NFL.
I was shocked. I
And so
was
they
shocked
didn't-
that
they didn't want that.
I got called into this meeting at the Super Bowl, and it was a pretty high up exec who's since been fired, but who sat me down and was just like, it's not Anthony who's gonna, lose his job, because of this. It's you and it's me. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're done. And he was like, oh no. And I was like, are you gonna talk to Anthony? He was like, oh no. Like he was like afraid of Anthony. I was like, wow, why are they afraid of Anthony?
Yeah, you're intimidating as fuck, Anthony.
He just doesn't care about what people think, which is where all the power is.
It's my mystique.
That's why I'm a Trump fan.
It is, yeah, because you're really a sweetheart.
I said that to Jeff Ross once. I was like, these roasts are fun to do, Jeff, but like everyone's like scared of me afterwards. Like I'm meeting cool people and they're like trying to stay the hell away from me because I don't know what I'm going to say. And he's like, it's your mystique. Like, and I was like, oh, I got mystique. And then I was totally happy. Like it was just like looking at it that way.
Huh.
Yeah.
So your podcast now, do you guys still touch on like let's say Kaepernick? Do we have some Kaepernick material?
If Kaepernick's in the news, we would, but there hasn't been anything. Like it's more like
R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Trump
Yeah.
and R. Kelly.
We talk about our lives a little bit. We talk about we take some questions, but then we just talk like very strange news stories. It could be sports. Like we talked about the Trump, Clemson, the Clemson team visiting the White House and stuff. We've had a lot of we've had some caravan talk about them possibly joining the NFL.
yeah,
the Mexican caravan.
It's absurd. It makes no sense, and it does got nothing to do with what's
it's
actually
like Madden
going on
caravan.
in sports. You don't.
Madden caravan. I actually dig that.
No one learns anything on our podcast.
But it's
Like,
doing well though.
Yeah, it's doing
Yeah.
great. Like
They
there was
just
an
love
LSU offensive lineman this week, or former offensive lineman, who had his leg shot off by a dog when he was hunting, who shot him in the leg, and then he had to have his leg amputated.
The dog shot his leg?
That's what
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like
the
my
dog
wife
did?
The dog jumped into the truck, by mistake hit the safety, right? It's called, and then the trigger, and it hit the guy in the leg, and he had to have it.
That sounds premeditated.
Yeah, that's the story he's telling the cops.
Yeah. I mean, like, how
The
the
dog
fuck you
did
hit
that
the
shit.
safety and then you shoot with that kind of aim. I mean,
But like we're at the point. I think was it
What
was
do
it
you
my
think?
wife who sent me that, or Eric? Like someone saw that and immediately just texted me and was
yes.
like, "Oh, hey, here, this is obviously going to be on your show this week." Like that's our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anything awkward, slightly connected to sports.
And it doesn't even have to be. Sometimes it's like just some random story. Guy gets caught in a laundry chute or something. We'll talk about. But yeah, we just if it comes from sports, we like that. We like to almost pretend like we're going to be a serious sports show.
Yeah.
And then just our takes are insane.
What was your take on the Clemson thing? I got to know in just one sentence or less.
Just I think my quote was the saddest, trashiest shit I'd ever seen. Like just cold fast. It was like not the fact that it was fast food, that it was cold fast food.
it was cold.
And
it was cold.
Oh yeah, they did. I mean, they'd been sitting there
There's
for
no
hours
Sternos?
before those guys got there, and they like tried to spin it that they were like psyched about it, and I was like, no, they were not.
And they
There's no
weren't,
way.
were they?
You could. It's impossible. The team had been
That
there the
guy's
year
like it.
before.
Coach, you'd have been
and
happy,
loved
wouldn't
it.
you have?
With McDonald's?
Yeah.
Cold McDonald's.
I would have never thought it was a bad thing until someone said this is a bad thing.
Right.
I was like,
I'm
you
going to
just
be
give
honest.
me
I
food.
didn't even know they ate when they went to the White House. I
didn't
thought teams
know
just
that
went in,
either.
took
Right, I
a
think we
couple
all just
pictures,
found out
and
that they
left.
did
This was the first I ever heard of them eating.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I
either.
get, but to me, it sounds, that's another jab to get your political point across.
I was gonna say that too, yeah, because we didn't know that until they showed. They're like, oh, he's serving them this, but they're kids. Like, who cares?
I mean,
It was cold. It's kind of weird,
the
though.
fact that it was
Invest in
And
like
they're
a
like
heat
athletes,
lamp
and
or something.
it's just cheap. I mean, he was
So
bragging
cheap, yeah.
bragging that he paid for it, and it's like
course.
that makes him
Oh,
look
yeah,
bad.
he set himself up.
Yeah.
That's right.
With whose money? The taxpayers?
Because he said, I
Like,
bought
where are you
1,000
getting your money from?
hamburgers or something.
yeah,
like
that's just a complete lie.
Yeah.
There's no way.
you didn't pay for this.
Yeah, there's no way.
That guy.
It's
funny,
so him
man.
though.
And also,
That guy funny,
I paid
bro.
for this. Like he could have bought them had any restaurant cater it,
Right.
And instead he got like the worst one. Like if you walked into the White House and we're hearing about last year when they ate the best barbecue they've ever had in their lives, and then you walk in and see a stack of fillet of fish, you're gonna be ticked. Like one guy walked in, he was like, I thought they were kidding, but no, like he really did think they were joking, that it was like a bunch of fast food.
I don't get that. I don't get that. You got too much bread to not. Come on.
I don't know, man. He's funny. So
That got funny.
I
bro.
just think he's like Soldier Boy. He's just I look what I did. I paid for this. I'm gonna get you that wall. These niggas are gonna pay for it. He's
I think
just-
100% of those things is just to take focus off of something else. Like when he boards Air Force One with toilet paper on his shoe. Like, come
I
on,
don't
man.
know what's going on. He is like,
You don't do that
he is
accidentally.
like such
He's going by Soldier Man now. I don't know.
So did you
I don't
guys
know if
see
saw that?
Oh no, he's a Soldier Man
He,
now.
he announced on
Graduated.
Twitter he's going by Soldier Man.
that motherfucker funny too.
Like yesterday. Seriously.
Tyga.
I think he's
And,
probably like.
and someone noticed that he tweeted it out, and no one really made it and noticed it because he tweeted out like in the middle of the night. So he deleted it, and then he tweeted out the next day, so people would be on board with Soldier Man.
I think when you have a failed video game system, you become a man.
For the sake of Dreamcast, you're gonna be a man.
I forgot
soon.
he had that. Well, fuck, man.
Wait, what was your thoughts on? Did you guys celebrate when Ray Caruth got out of jail?
We did actually, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, what team is going to play for now? Like, who's going to pick him up?
Who's gonna pick
Like,
him up?
We were talking about
need
where he. I was kind of like looking at like the Saints. They've been looking at older receivers.
Right.
Like they need someone in
Des
the
Bryant?
need someone in the red zone. Like
yeah, he's a locker room guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Lock her. That's beautiful. God
yeah,
damn.
we were psyched the day Ray Caruth got out of prison. I think it was like with day of taping
Aaron.
the podcast.
Yeah, we had a couple weeks on Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez, like finding out
Those
he got
stories.
molested as a kid. That was a big day for us.
Oh, that was a big day for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys found that out.
Yeah, we're like, all right, sweet.
All right.
And the NFL Network was uncomfortable with this
Well,
show?
this is on Comedy Central. Yeah.
So I don't know if they listen. I know Comedy Central does because every week we get like an email that's like, please don't make fun of us for saying this, and then we do.
I mean, I've put my career in Anthony's hands. Like I basically changed my status at work to do this, to like kind of get out of my full-time employment there. And then they said, that like anything that you say or do there, you're just as responsible and could still get fired if it like offends the NFL. And Anthony was like,
Towing that line,
he
man.
was like, I'll take care of your family for the rest of your life if that happens. So I'm cool.
I never said that. I never said that.
What do you do at the NFL right now? You just like write shit?
I started as a writer and I still write, but I do podcasts and I do some TV.
What podcast do you do?
It's called the Around the NFL podcast.
Oh.
It's our biggest one. I mean, it's the NFL.
Yeah.
It's 3 times a week. It's
right.
we try to have fun, but it's mostly football. Certainly no.
Does Kyler Murray make it in the NFL? He's
I
5'9".
think because of Baker Mayfield, he'll get a shot and he'll get first round.
But does he
pick.
get it? I'm saying, is he good? Say he goes in.
I don't
Lincoln
know.
Riley.
I don't
comes
know
in.
about college football. I never know.
Yeah.
It's like my one day off.
All right.
For real.
Who do you got any predictions?
What do you want? I mean, I like the Rams a lot this weekend. I didn't know we'd go serious football here, but yeah, I like the
I'm
Rams.
just asking.
I like the Rams this weekend.
Is there a Kareem Hunt watch? Like what he's doing right now?
Oh, I
like where
forgot.
he's
What you
gonna
guys
work?
do on Kareem Hunt? That poor guy.
What did we do about Kareem Hunt?
I don't remember.
I'm sure we did something.
Well, the Chiefs cut him.
Yeah, it was definitely addressed. I know. I saw the Bear. He's gonna be back in the league. He's on some.
Should he play soccer with that kick?
He
It was not that good. It's like a Cody Parkey kick.
Did you guys see that Cody Parkey, the Bears kicker, who missed that kick, is gonna get fired? Damn, we should have talked about this. I totally spaced on that. That is gonna lose his job with the Bears because he went on the Today Show with Hoda Kotb.
Yeah.
And they were like annoyed that he was being propped up as some hero. And that's the thing that the coach and the GM were watching that and were like, oh, we can't have that. Now we're going to get rid of him.
I mean,
which to me is kind of
They have
BS.
done it anyway, but that interview, he was just such a dork too that you were like, this guy can't represent the team. I think it's funny that this is the first time I've ever heard Hoda Kotb out loud. Like I had I'd seen it written, but I've never heard it pronounced. That I had no idea.
Cosby or Codby?
Codby.
Hoda
Codby?
Hoda Kotb.
All right.
My wife's
No
a fan.
idea.
And you're a Steeler fan, so what do you think about this Antonio Brown saga?
What's going on?
I think this was the curse of Le'Veon Bell all season. That like
Really?
by not nipping that thing in the bud, I think Brown's a lot happier. If Bell's around, and the guy is a diva. You know what I mean? It's like kind of what makes him great. I can't believe he's so willing to walk away from Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of his stats are Antonio Brown's stats are padded because Roethlisberger would, throw him a screen at the end of the first half and he'd get like 60 yards. You know what I mean? And not get anywhere near the end zone, but they took care of him stat wise. I think this year he was just upset about Juju coming up and no
this
Bell.
This would be the second receiver Juju got rid of because he got rid of Martavis Bryant by saying he was better than him. And now he got MVP this year, so would that irk Antonio Brown?
Oh,
maybe?
big time.
Really?
Big time.
Here's the thing that you do hear, and I have heard this like behind the scenes and this is the least surprising thing ever, that like no receiver and quarterback talks more shit about each other behind each other's back than Antonio Brown and Roethlisberger.
That makes sense.
That basically, Brown is just like doing you try to throw to a guy where you don't even know where he's going to be on the field. He's always doing his own thing. And then I think like everyone hates Ben to some degree on some level. Like
Why is that? What's his deal?
I think it's what I've heard is like he's like the last guy on the field and the first guy off when practice.
Really?
He's not like
he's not he's not Brady.
I think he's just been around forever, and he's a big guy, and he's taken some lickings.
That's your guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, I could never get a Roethlisberger jersey, but I root for him, and I fear the day he retires.
Hey, it's like newsflash. A lot of these quarterbacks are not necessarily the best friends with all their teammates, and a lot of them are assholes. Like Dan Marino was famous as a guy who was kind of a jerk, and it's like
Jordan,
it's fine.
too,
Jordan, I mean, it's okay.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I like Roethlisberger.
Like, except everybody loves Brady. Even Josh Gordon loved Brady.
Because Brady go hard. Touchdown Tommy.
I don't know.
I got him this week.
I like
I got him
this.
this weekend.
I mean, I'm a Pats fan, so I like hearing that.
I hate the Pats.
I'm a
so
Belichick fan.
Yes.
Gross.
Our boy's a winner.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying
Well,
that.
white receivers
Listen.
should be investigated.
Belichick versus Andy Reid this weekend. The spread should be
in
like
your-
30.5.
I judge
have no
Belichick
idea.
solely by what he did with the Cleveland Browns.
Living in the
I don't
past,
take
man.
anything else into account.
Living in the past.
I saw something that they did a poll of like what Super Bowl like America wants to see, and basically 88% of it was some combination of Chiefs Rams or Chiefs Saints. It just absolutely no one wants to see the Patriots. So I appreciate that you're on board.
They're the Yankees.
can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
They're new money to me, though, because they just got good this century, so.
Please.
It's been a long
I mean, like, what
century.
who are you a fan of?
You know, I'm a Raider fan, so I can't talk. But you guys
like you missed that.
destroyed my franchise with that fucking Tuck rule.
I'm a believer that people shouldn't be able to claim like the history of the team before they were born. It's like you didn't watch the Steel Curtain. What enjoyment did you get out of that?
None.
That didn't
I mean,
count.
none.
That doesn't count for you.
Yeah, it did not until we
Fine.
won.
I agree with
two
that.
in my.
I'm
that I
also
got to
an LA
watch.
Raider fan, so it's just.
He's also a Laker fan who claims the Minneapolis championships too. So
We all did 17.
let's not give him any credit.
Whatever, Philadelphia. I'm not going there with you guys.
Let me ask you guys a question. How is this the Roast Battle podcast?
It's a great question.
Because every few minutes we will awkwardly inject an actual roast battle into the podcast.
So
like a morning hip hop radio show.
So what we do is we're gonna play about 4 rounds of roast battle. We edit it in post, and we just take this conversation, we get it down to the best parts, and spend 2 or 3 minutes, set up the roast battle, then slide in. So we're basically a platform.
So you're taking all of this out right now.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. None of this is staying.
So it's pretty much it's 4 roast battles and then me talking.
Probably.
Greg's in
Probably.
there, too.
I like Greg in there though.
Yeah.
But
Greg just said he works at NFL Network, and then we cut that
I've
out.
got some shots up.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've gotten any made it. but-
We'd be happy to ask you some roast battle related questions if you'd rather talk
Why do you
about
fuck
that.
with us?
Go for it.
I want to. Let's talk about the
Is it
season
just
you was
Jeff?
on. Did you like that? Did you enjoy that? That was.
Being a roast battle judge on the TV show is the most fun thing in entertainment. I love it so much, and I'm not a huge fan of judging in the belly room. I don't love that. I mean, part of it's getting paid. Part of it is I've been to some rough roast battles. Like I was there the night the guy got killed, and we had to stay there
dude.
till 5 a.m.
wow.
You brought that. Forgot you brought that black cloud with
And
you.
I was I was so drunk. I wasn't even going to be there that night, but I was
Wait,
like
what
dropping
happened?
Jeff off.
They just got back
Somebody
from
got
Oddball.
shot. Yeah, we got back from Oddball, and Jeff's car wasn't there. So I was like, oh, just come in my car, and I'll drop you off. And my driver took the surface roads, not the highway. And the Jeff was yelling at my driver the whole way that I felt so bad. Then I was like, all right, I'll come in if you want. And he was like, oh, thank you. And then somebody got shot, trying to get away from someone.
Not a battler,
I don't know
to
if
be
they ever
fair.
got-
He wasn't shot. He got murdered.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know if they ever caught the guy either, but it was like an execution, like a
No,
guy who
never
was
did.
trying to get tickets
never did?
to like
They
get
just
away
did.
from someone. Some guy just walked up and shot him like in the head and took off. And and the cops came. We had to be there till like 5 a.m.
Damn.
And then the last time
was
I
that
did it,
good
I remember
for, like,
you.
was that good publicity?
No,
for
it was
roast battle?
terrible.
No.
We almost.
Bro, they thought we caused it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were the only show going on at the time.
Oh, there was a black show.
There was a
down
black
there
show
that
in
got
the main
canceled.
And that was the last time the black show was there. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
That was the
last
most
night.
white privileged shit ever. There was a black show in the main room that had nothing to do with anything, and didn't they cancel the show?
They were looking for a reason. And
After
that was
the guy
best
got shot?
reason to get rid of that show. Yeah.
But then I did. The last time I did it, I was like really drunk. I was out with some friends and was just trashed and stopped by the store. And Jeff's like, "Come on up and judge." And it was one night where like everyone was bad, and there were a million battles. And I remember at one point, like you even like you looked at me and you're like, "Anthony, you don't have to be here, man." I was like, "Oh, and Moses is just like honestly telling you like, hey, you're so negative about it." Like, and I was just like, I would just sigh into the mic and I'd be like, "Next." Like I don't know what to tell these
it
people.
was Wanda Sykes like in up in Montreal. It was it was just bad. Now I felt bad for you being there. I was like, yo, I don't want to be here. You don't need to be. Like you're too much for this room already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think like I can just get up and walk out of here.
Yeah,
I was like, oh.
always. Yeah.
Was you judging? Was that your return to Comedy Central since your show?
Yeah, I did. I think that was probably it.
On TV
I did Nikki Glazer's show when she had her show Not Safe. But I think maybe the roast battle was first. That year in Montreal was so much fun. It was just like it paid well, and they were like, "We'll fly you and your brother to Montreal and put you guys up for the week." And usually, when you go to Montreal as a comic, you're like, you're at that one stupid hotel, and you're not making any money, and you're doing a bunch. That I was like, this is the best.
Yeah.
Like we just went and enjoyed ourselves. That I really loved it. The energy that year
That was a bad.
was so good.
Yeah.
That like the second season I didn't love as much when it was in House of Blues. I was like, this is weird. And then this past season was really fun. I had a great time doing it. I got to be on all of them.
Yeah.
And that was so fun.
You've made a lot of fans.
And you don't have to like write anything down. You just go and just, it's off the top of your head. That I like yelled at them afterwards the season because I was like, how are you going to have a guy come out in a wheelchair and not tell me in advance that that's happening? Like how did I not know? How did I not know some of these, like, how are you going to tell me we've got a trans woman, battling? No one told me that. I found out that I was like, you're not going to give me a heads up? Like, you think that would
There was a lot of drop balls on this season. There was a lot of drop balls on this season.
Hold on, Anthony. Wouldn't that be the producer's job?
Mm-hmm. Like I brought it up to an executive. And
who
was
are
like,
the producers?
You know who the producers are.
Who are they?
It was Jeff Ross, it's Brian Moses,
Oh,
Joe Gallen. But I was also complaining too. There's a lot of drop balls. Like listen, there's a lot of things that happen. I mean, I was in the back with no name on the trailer, ants in my trailer. I mean,
here we go with the ants again.
I'm just saying, it was a bunch of bad shit, and there's also things that would happen with the show too. But I'm saying, they weren't briefing anybody. I wouldn't get a script until 4 p.m. and we shot at 7.
How do you get that producer credit?
I
create the show.
Damn.
Then sell your soul.
You were saying at the time though, because I walked over with you for your last night, that it was great that you didn't have all you had to do was show up and just be ready. Like there's a
but they give you
that.
little notes. Like they'll give you it'll be like Gregg Rosenthal with a picture and then 4 things about you that I can that a wheelchair is a big thing. Like you should comment on that.
That wasn't one of the 4
that I was
things.
no, I don't think they gave us one because he was a they were both internet battles.
Right.
But they didn't give us anything for that. They were just like, oh, we're throwing this in. And I was like, I can't believe no one told me what was coming. And so I was almost annoyed.
I didn't know you didn't know
that,
by the way, and that's a great note to have.
A lot of people
bad
know.
What I liked, what I liked about Anthony as a judge is you were really funny, but you were also a genuinely thoughtful. You paid attention to the battle. You had really good, honest feedback. In the belly room, sometimes people are just they're there to take shots and they don't actually judge it. But I thought you killed it on both sides.
I mean, I think that's a testament to the contestants. The people who are doing it are such a high level and they come so prepared. Like if anyone ever half-assed it or didn't remember their stuff, I think I would probably be more harsh. But everyone tries so hard and they all genuinely make me laugh. That it's tough. Sometimes at the end I'm like, fuck, who am I going to vote for? Who do I have a better joke for? And I vote for that person. But it's a toss-up. Somebody's like, oh, I can't believe I lost to that person. And I'm like, well, I don't know that much about it. My only goal is to try not to ramble when I'm judging. Because sometimes people feel so bad, they don't want to pick someone. So they just start talking, hoping that something will change. That I always, when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, don't do that. Keep it short and sweet.
Good man.
But I love doing it. I hope they do 1 million seasons of it.
Would you ever battle?
No, because I've got everything to lose, and I've kind of retired with legend status as a roaster. I did 3, and then I was like, I don't think I'll ever do another one.
Yeah,
to do a battle,
it's
yeah. I was very conscious of how Geraldo kind of soured on the roast toward the end, but felt like he had to do them.
Right.
But I was like,
how many did he do though? You only did 3.
I did 3.
Geraldo did 10.
Yeah, Whitney did 3. I did 3.
I was always surprised by your reaction after the 3rd. You were like, I don't want to do that again.
It's a lot, and I thought that my first roast was one of the best things I've ever done. That the bar was set there, and again it just got meaner and meaner. Where people stopped wanting me to be on the roasts. The celebrities themselves were like, I don't want him, tearing my actress friend a new asshole, and
right.
I would think that they just kind of phased out that level.
I think that's what happened to Geraldo too, right?
No, he died.
I mean.
Ghetto.
If he hadn't, people always thought that I replaced him on the Trump roast, but we would have been on that roast together. Our last conversation was, we're going to do the next one together. That'll be awesome. Like he was great to me. Like I don't know if I ever told you this story. When I was on, I wrote for the David Hasselhoff roast, and I was friends with Geraldo from The Cellar and in New York City, and they asked me to do warm up. They never had a warm up comic. They're like, Anthony, would you go out and do 5 minutes so we can like get those laughs and use them in the edit? And I was like, okay, but knowing it was like a terrible gig.
I was gonna say, I was like,
if
dude.
this goes well, like I can't turn this down and then expect to be on the next roast.
Right.
But if I say yes, they're like, okay, he can do whatever. And I'm talking to Greg, and he was like, he's like, warm up, huh? It's like, make sure you tell him to turn the pagers off. And I was like, just joking around with me about how bad it was going to be. And then when I walked out to do it, the dais was all out there already. And Greg gave me a standing ovation and like was like, yeah, like clapping and screaming when I walked out. And that like immediately put a smile on my face and got me through it. Okay. It was like Pam Anderson's like heckling me from behind.
So
like,
it was a hell gig
and I'm
still.
like, it was a total hell gig.
Yeah.
But Greg like, made it seem like I was one of them.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you took it, because I remember they had asked here, and I was like, dude, there's no way. I'm not going to do 2 minutes in a fucking hangar with fucking people who aren't going to pay attention.
They wanted you to do 2 minutes?
Yeah, they've asked everybody on the roast battle to like do 10 minutes up top, because Joel, that's how Joel is. And it's just, you don't want to do that. You don't want to ruin your career before it even starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Is there
Pam
any,
Anderson was heckling you.
is there any celebrity that would bring you out of that retirement?
I've given serious thought to coming out of retirement if they got the Comedy Central roast of Louis C.K. But again, I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. And I always thought
would they ever do that?
No, not
if Louis would do it, they would for sure.
Hell yeah.
Like those are the best ones when the person kind of needs to be there. Like that, where it's not someone just kind of
produce that
holding their feet to the fire.
That's the Jeff Ross thing.
I've talked about with a lot of comics.
Yeah.
And, Jeff obviously would love to do that. So
everyone's a piece of Louis right now. I think everybody would come out for it. I still think he's too hated to make that happen this year.
Yes, it'd be like another year or two from now, but he could
somewhere in the 2020s.
It'd be kind of like what Bieber did. Is like everyone make fun of me so people will like me again.
Well, people would kill Comedy Central for it if they did it now.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and they don't have.
A couple of years. Time heals all wounds.
It would have to be someone special. And one of the idea that I had that I thought would be funny was like,
Cosby.
What was the roast that the Ann Coulter was on?
Oh, that was the Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe. Because they asked me about that like last minute. They were like the week before. They were like, "Would you do it?" And I was like, "Ooh, they added Ann Coulter." But then I realized everyone's going to go after Ann Coulter. That I was like, what would be really funny is just to make every single one of my jokes for 7 minutes about Jewel. Like just walking up there and like ignoring everyone else, but destroying like the one person you wouldn't expect at all. The idea of doing that would be really funny to me.
Because they fell in the trap of fucking going after Ann Coulter, and they make it anything about Rob Lowe. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't
fuck Jewel, by the way.
Really?
I mean, she's got it coming.
I mean, it would be just the most unexpected. Like my jokes about like Marlee Matlin and the Trump roast are like my favorites because it was just so harsh to like a deaf woman. Like people aren't sympathetic.
So it doesn't sound like you're really trying to like offend anyone. It sounds like you're just trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just like the tension, the laugh you get at an offensive joke. It's not because it's offensive; it's because the tension is so high that you have to laugh a little harder. And once you get that reaction, it's hard to go for a different one, And I think of myself as a pitcher on stage that like you can't throw all fastballs. People are going to learn when to swing. But if you throw some change ups and some curves in there, then you can get through 9 innings. And
bro, sensei over here. Fucking.
Hey, he's spitting that shit. Yeah. He's spitting that shit.
Yeah.
But it's not like just for the sake of being offensive, but that by being offensive, by playing with that idea of what culture thinks of something. Like in my new hour, I talk about a guy with Alzheimer's. Okay. And when I say my next door neighbor has Alzheimer's, the entire crowd gets silent. Okay. Like just by hearing the word. And then like the laugh at the end is so huge because you have that tension.
Oh, so you like use the edge to set up your punchline as opposed to some of our battlers are just like, I'm trying to fucking hurt people.
Yeah, the edge is the punchline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the edge sets it up. Like he goes to a place that everyone now they have your attention because this is unusual for a comedy venue, and then you give them a great joke. I think we have a lot of battlers that are like, I want to say nigger, like, and I'm white. There's just nothing to it, and they just are like, I'm trying to offend people. Like I heard the last one we had with Dan Nolan, he called Kim Connon like a cunt. And that was it. She's a huge cunt. I'm like,
no, there was some subtlety to that. I'll defend that joke.
I mean, I got it, but a lot of people do that. But what's the subtlety to this?
The subtlety is it's become a really played out roast battle concept to be like, thank you so-and-so, and it's always like a punny kind of shit thing.
Yeah.
So she used one of those, and he just said, you're welcome, cunt. It was so out of left field.
Got you.
Because usually somebody would respond in kind with like a punny thing.
Got
it was
you.
really out of left field. So I defend that joke. I think
And
it's
if you
hilarious.
don't know that show,
Also,
or,
she's a huge
or
cunt.
Dan Nolan, then you're like, what the hell was that? But what I'm saying is, it doesn't sound like you're there. It doesn't sound like you're a super advocate for, I don't know, any group. I mean, or free speech or
No. I mean, when people complain about PC culture, they're really just complaining about culture, like the way the world is now. Yeah. So, like, what are you going to do? And you can either bitch about it or you can just do your job. And I'm always think, like, John Wick doesn't complain about how many guys he's got to fight. You know what I mean? All right. John Wick just cuts through the room. That, like, people bitching. I'm like, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? That, especially if it's in your act, complaining, I'm like, this is the worst. Just do your job.
Do you think it's slowing your bag up? Is affecting your money at all?
Oh no, I think it's. I mean, I'm
eating.
I think it makes me more of a niche act. Like, I look at people who are more popular, and I know why they're more popular. You know what I mean? I was just like, if I ever get upset, like, oh, why is that guy selling out 2 shows? You know, and I'm selling out 1. I think like the most popular comedy in America is The Big Bang Theory. You know what I mean, that puts my mind at ease. Like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm compensated very well for it. So I don't have my eyes on anyone else's paper, and I know why some people, you know, frankly just draw more. Like, I look at how hard Sebastian Maniscalco works, and I'm like, you deserve to be headlining Madison Square Garden. Yeah. You deserve all these things. I'm not jealous at all, and I would never compare myself to him in any metric of the art form. I
have a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw a YouTube video a long time before I even lived in LA where you were doing an impersonation of
Dan Cook?
Yeah. That was you, right? Mm-hmm. Now, was you just doing that because you thought it was hilarious, or did you have any beef towards him?
I had never met him at that point. I was just annoyed that, like, everyone I would talk to, you know, when you're coming up as a comic and you have no credits or anything, you tell someone you're a comic and they just look at you like you're like a con artist or like you're like a liar, and everyone would just be like, "Do you know Dan Cook?" And it just like annoyed me so much. And I think I had done that impression at like a show the night before. Just like my friends had been joking around about how ridiculous it would be. Like, it wasn't so much making fun of him as like showing the differences between us. And it was like one of my friends said before I saw that impression, I didn't know you could bend your knees because of the way you were on stage. That I was like, that was funny to me, and the fact that he got like upset about it was
Wait,
was
he
funny
did?
to me. Oh yeah.
Those are your early
People who used to work for him, he like fired all his tour managers and stuff. Were like, we were on tour when that like hit and kind of blew up, and he wanted to sue you, and we talked him out of it. We were like, it's gonna look bad for you if you come after this guy, and he never did.
It's like some 50 Cent and Joe Rule shit.
Yeah,
just
because nobody's talking about Dan Cook anymore.
Yeah, what happened?
Anthony Jeselnik.
He did that?
He ate him.
You 50 Cented him?
No, I don't think. I mean, that was kind of the beginning of the end for him, but I think he did it. He did it to himself. Like,
do you think he
around the same time.
overexposed himself by recording like 7 hours worth of material in like 2 years?
I think sometimes people, as they get popular, they kind of start working a little bit less hard because they don't have to work as hard. And when you're in the room, people are so excited to be in the room with you that they're laughing at everything. And then you see it on TV and you're like, what the hell is this? And I think it's pretty well documented that after his like brother took his money, he just did a big tour. That like he cost like the most expensive tickets he'd ever done, and it was like the worst material he'd ever done, and it just burned his own audience.
Ooh, I didn't know his brother took his money. I'm out of the game.
You know his brother stole his money?
I didn't know.
Oh, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars?
Mm-hmm.
His brother's still alive?
He's in jail.
Damn.
That's
You're lucky that
wild.
Mikey's not smart enough to pull off something like
I would
that.
never put my brother in charge of my money. Never.
Yeah, that's
I
wild,
didn't even pay for dinner when I go home.
Wow. Stole his money?
All right, so what's on the horizon for Rosenthal and Jeselnik?
I mean,
Get that
Greg's
into
just waiting for the Super Bowl to end so he can get in that sweet combine. Like, Greg's thing is like a 365 job now.
Oh, you like the combine?
No, I mean,
You cover the
You took
combine?
the draft off. You took
I
the
am
draft
very
off.
happy for the end of the season just because you have a couple quiet weeks. But then, yeah, you go to the combine, you got free agency, you go to owners meeting. My season kind of ends April or so.
How did you do in fantasy this year?
I don't do fantasy anymore.
I'm just wondering. That's all I really care about.
He's
You don't
a
do
ringer,
fantasy
bro.
no more?
I used to, and I was good at it. It was my job, and I would be in all these different leagues as part of the job. But I also would do some high stakes league, and I actually there was a point where I would people would pay me money to play fantasy football for them, and then I would keep half the money.
You were that good.
I mean, I was good. But yeah, I was good.
At one point, he was I would say one of the foremost fantasy experts. It was before, because he was at Roto World, which was the first fantasy journalism, and he was one of the first guys over there.
That paid for me to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Berry's thing, right?
What?
Was that Matt Berry's thing?
He was there, but then he was there.
Okay.
It wasn't his, but yeah.
Yeah. All right.
He's a
I'm
good dude.
trying to figure out how I could use your presence to help me. But the season's over. Hey, you like Baker?
I love Baker.
You liked him before?
I mean, I love watching him in the NFL. I mean, I like his personality.
Yeah.
Is amazing, but I just like him as a quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback to come in this decade. I would say since
Better
Andrew
than
Luck.
Mahomes?
I was gonna say Mahomes.
I mean, I meant as a rookie. Mahomes didn't play as a rookie, so it's not really a fair comparison. But it's so hard. The hardest thing just about in sports is to be a rookie quarterback.
I agree.
And I always it's one of the columns that I write is tracking the quarterbacks and watching them every week. And he, I would say, is the best as a rookie of anyone I've seen this decade.
Is Lamar Jackson going to
What
survive?
about Luck?
Luck was in the mix, and that year we all thought RJ3 was that good too. We were just because it was who's better?
He was until he tore his ACL.
He was.
So
but
Vince Young, you gotta
it wasn't
give
going to
it a year,
last.
but-
Baker.
I don't believe in a black quarterback that runs that much.
That's why I was asking
can
about
say that,
Lamar
yeah.
Jackson because
That's not a quarterback.
But they're all saying that too. They all know that Lamar Jackson's on he's a ticking time bomb. He's gonna be gone in a year or two.
okay.
If
I
he
mean,
gets
I'm
it.
asking the expert, not Brian Moses.
I think he has more. He can throw the ball better. I think he has more potential to get better throwing the ball and to be a quarterback. And I think the game's changing. I mean, the game is more college, those sort of spread running quarterback. I think that's going to have more of a part of the game. There are no such thing as unathletic quarterbacks anymore. There's no Phillip Rivers is coming into the league. Everyone can run, so it's part of the game.
What was Adam Gase on at his press conference the other day?
You mean the Today Show thing?
No, did you see that with the eyeballs?
Oh, yes.
We
Yeah,
sent it
that
as a
was-
possible thing to talk about on our podcast, but it would have been hard to kind of translate.
Yeah.
because
We can't talk about visible things.
So Adam Gase is the new head coach
Yeah.
of the New York Jets. He showed up to his introductory presser with his eyes just bugging out of his head, looking around the room constantly. What the fuck was going on?
I think he just has anxiety, and it was on tilt. I mean, it was on an extra level. I always talked about, even in Miami, that he has some of the craziest press conferences reactions in general. He cannot control his emotions. His face is always just contorting up and doing kind of crazy shit, especially after he loses, which is, I like it because most coaches are so boring to watch, but
He
no
doesn't
one
wear it well, yeah.
no one really noticed that in Miami for whatever reason. And now that he's in New York, I think that's kind of a ticking time bomb because they're just going to kind of have their field day with him going crazy.
There we go.
Okay. So no Coke.
I love the NFL. I could talk about it all day, but we want to be respectful to the superstars in here.
Yeah. Last question.
Anthony loves the NFL.
Yeah, less and less. All this,
Really?
all the CTE
Please.
stuff.
If the Steelers were in, you would be the playoffs this week. That's all you'd be talking about.
I would be excited, but I wouldn't be as into it. Watching Ryan Shazier, get carried off the field. They just it makes it tough to watch. That I don't follow it as much as I used to. And part of it also having won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. You chill out a little bit, but I like to follow it, but I don't. I'm not as into it as I used to be. I think
That
the way
seems
a lot
true,
of America
but
is.
that's true. But you also watch it by yourself with the sound off in a dark room because it drives you so in a big game because it drives you so crazy you can't be around anyone else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
You're a real fan.
So let's be
I
real.
fucking appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know enough.
Steelers were my Super Bowl pick. Early in the beginning of the year, I was like, hey, I think
Good
they
job.
got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
Great job with that.
Great.
I
I think
We
the
need
Steelers,
football.
the last
NFL
couple
can't
years,
go away. We
they've
need-
just
we
come
need
down to
black
injuries. So it comes down to injuries with the Steelers so much that it's hard to get optimistic or pessimistic in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they're
They're
injured-
let's just see who stays healthy.
they're injured by needy niggas. That's what it is. And I think
That's what I always say.
I think the head coach don't know how to hone that shit in.
Wait,
Who
what
is
was
this?
what was your saying?
Oh, they're injured. The Steelers are injured by needy niggas because they always have personality issues. It's never a talent issue. It's never a schematics issue. It's weird internal shit. Like you got Roethlisberger talking about, well, I told Antonio to come up. I'm like, why would you say that about the goal? Like, that's weird. Why would you say that? And so I was always like, that's sad to me because then you have the most quietest team in the NFL whooping the fuck out of everybody, and they're all white.
All right, so now that that's been said, thank you.
We need to have him on the.
You don't know alt-right Coach T?
Oh, not at all, man. I just have high expectations for the black community.
But that's what I'm saying. So now that
You're the only person I've ever heard advocate for white football players.
Oh, say again?
Yeah. So now that all them black head coaches got axed.
Oh yeah. Some of that shit.
So I'm asking you. So they're like, oh, there should be more black coaches. Should there be more black coaches because they relate to the players?
I think,
or just like Anthony's saying, should they just be able to coach?
I think you got to ask yourself, why isn't there more black coaches at the beginning level? Not at the head is kind of weird to me, but it's at the beginning level because you're like, they're supposed to be the most qualified. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're saying because it's not enough money.
At the small level?
Yeah, they're saying like the intern level, like like the tape guys, even the OCs.
It's not what it is. When you get a job, you hire your friends. That's just what it is. If you own a football team, you're gonna hire people that you're connected to, and that's just what that is. But I don't understand why more black people aren't given shots at the smaller level.
I've always said if you're gonna have a Rooney Rule, it should apply to position coaches and college coaches.
I'm blaming niggas for this.
For what? For not wanting to coach?
Yeah, because they don't want to not get paid. It's the internship thing.
Well, I used to coach, and then when you get I was in Buchanan. Buchanan is like whatever. It's Clovis. It's whatever. So what happens is you're not a head coach. You're the director of sport. So when they called me in, they said you're in charge of these 5 elementaries, this junior high, and blah blah blah. And I was able to put everybody where I wanted to be. But so those little under jobs, like I put Zeno in position. But so those under jobs have to come from the guy at the top. So it's like like you have to,
Aaron's, like what Aaron's.
What I'm saying is like if you want to go coach in college, like you just can't. It's just you just can't be like, hey, I'm here. I'm Brian Moses. I coached in college, and you have to actually someone has to put you in there.
Are you saying if you're like a white guy, you can just show up, show up at the stadium, and be like, I'm the coach? And I'm like, all right.
Look, Kingsbury did that.
No, but you just have more. You just have more opportunity.
It's like, hi, Mr. Saban. I'm white.
Oh my God! Thank God you're here. All these niggas keep trying to coach.
Yeah, and I think you got to show more. I think you might be able, as a white guy, you might be able to pass the mustard a little bit more. But that just means you got to show more.
I mean, it's like every industry. It's not really any different. Which is it's just people that they know and that are familiar to them and are comfortable with them. And it's like literally just family members. Gary Kubiak didn't take the Broncos job because they wouldn't let him hire 3 of his sons or 2 of his sons, and they only would let him hire 1 of his sons. And so he went to the team that would let him hire like 3 of his sons.
Andy Reid hired all his kids, and then one of them died. So
I think what we're saying is black coaches need to have more children.
That was a slick one. That was a slick one. But to me, that doesn't look good. 70% of your league is black, but then you can't. And then so you try to overcompensate by that by just giving niggas jobs. And now you have Marvin Lewis absolutely murdering the Bengals organization for like 9 years. I don't like Marvin Lewis. I don't like that. I don't like that guy.
They weren't good at all in the 90s.
He did a good job.
That's crazy. Some coaches, he made them relevant.
Some coaches can get you out, and then some coaches can teach you how to win.
But nobody in the Bengals organization for like 12 years was doing shit. That guy turned that whole thing around. We're talking about it because of Marvin Lewis.
If a chick is like, every boyfriend I had beat me twice and I beat you once, does it make me a better boyfriend?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. Or better to that person, but it doesn't make me a good boyfriend. That makes me good.
It's one of the worst metaphors.
Yes, he brought the Bengals organization out of some bullshit. I got you. I thought they underperformed with a lot of talent. And as a guy who runs an organization, I got you your talent. Why didn't they underperform?
He got his own talent though. He's
got a coaching tree.
They were at a point where they didn't even have a scouting staff, and he essentially threatened to quit. They were going to fire him. I never forget this press conference where it was supposed to be announcing he just got hired, but it was just him and the owner bickering at each other, talking about his contract extension, and basically came out that like Marvin Lewis pushed his chips in the table that made him like hire a scouting staff and get up to the 21st century because Mike Brown is this old cheap owner's own.
He never had a scouting staff.
I mean, he had it, but he had like 3 guys like flipping through magazines.
That's why they're so trash. That's why you drafted Keely Smith in the fucking first round.
Hey, man.
We just went deep on Marvin Lewis. I love it.
That guy's team exploded. It wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. His team exploded as if they were never been there. And as a guy who prepares people to peak in the post, I know what happened. There was a lack of mental preparation. They were like, I can't believe I'm here and I can win, and they fucked themselves. So me, I'm like, I don't care about those wins. I'm paying to win the Super Bowl. That's my thing. I got you. He's good.
That game, though, was one of my favorite moments. If you're talking about the game
Vontaze
against the
Burfict
Steelers.
game.
Mine wasn't
He's crazy,
Vontaze Burfict doing anything on the field. It was when I think he intercepted a pass or got a sack, and he just ran, under the stadium into the tunnel as if they had won the game, and there was like 2.5 minutes left, and then they lost the game.
See, that had a vibe like we all were so excited to be here. Like, when you give someone their first TV credit and they act like an idiot, like that's what it felt like. And I was like, well, they keep doing that. And I'm like, okay, he could work, but he got to get out of there.
Yeah, they get another trash head coach. I mean, I don't know.
I always blame the owners, by the way. I don't even blame the coaches.
After you just spent 10 minutes blaming the coach.
Lewis. But I mean, overall, if your program is consistently bad, I think it's your owner. If it's just consistently shitty.
Let's give them one more question. We'll all get out of here. Ron Goldman from the OJ murders. Mm-hmm. Is he allowed to say the N-word in heaven? Now, by the way,
I think
I
everyone
understand it's heaven. Right, it's heaven. I knew, I get it's heaven. We're all supposed to, it's our heaven, but I'm saying, can he? Is he allowed?
I think he's got to choose between the mustache and the N-word. You know what I mean? He can bring one in there, but he can't bring both. You got to trim the stash, or you can use the N-word, and that's a toss up for anybody.
I think so, but I think he says he wants to say it because I think he's allowed to say it.
Ron Goldman?
Yeah, I'll ask a black person, coach. The only black person in the room.
Yeah?
Coach is like, he could say it on Earth.
I don't give a fuck about what any white people do, and that's why I'm happy. But but that's just me. I don't think he killed that girl.
Ron Goldman didn't kill that girl.
Oh, yeah, he didn't kill. What I mean, like, I'm thinking about OJ.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're saying he can say it because
I'm
OJ.
saying Ron Goldman.
Yeah, I don't think OJ killed that guy, man.
I don't think you understood the premise.
I know. Now I get it. But I don't think OJ killed that guy, man.
I can't even answer that question because I work for the NFL. Like, that's it.
But Ron Goldman didn't.
They're still sensitive about it.
Yeah,
they're still. I love
about
that.
About OJ.
That's good. I love that.
It is funny how
it
is funny when they have one of those America's Game, like these NFL films, like talking about the Patriots, and you just see Aaron Hernandez like flying by and like scoring a touchdown, and like they've tried to erase everything Aaron Hernandez related. It's like it's never happened.
Yeah.
Whew. They get a lot of heat. I'm assuming that there is an attack on the NFL. Are you mean to tell me that nobody in hockey is beating their wives and no one's knocking people out? Nothing's happening in the NBA? How do these stories? How does TMZ always have?
How's Magic Johnson the only NBA player in history to have HIV? I think that's a cover up.
Like, the NFL just has so many more players. I think that's
that what it is?
Underrated. Seriously, though, there's 12 NBA players. Every NFL team in the offseason has 85, 90 players.
Woo.
So
there's also way more brain trauma.
Shit happens.
Right. That's got to factor in somehow.
I mean the off-field stuff, not the concussion. They deserve everything.
What I'm saying is, like, the off-field stuff, I would think that when your brain's been jarred that many times, you're more likely to make some bad decisions.
I mean, I can't hate on that.
I'm sure it's possible.
But hockey people run into each other all the time.
But the NFL's on top. That's the second thing. Is like it's like everyone, they're the most popular sport, so they're gonna be in the news more.
What I've heard about football players too is that there's a thing called, like, I forget what they call it, where football players are more insecure than basketball players at the professional level because they wear helmets. So they go out and people don't know who they are. Yeah. Basketball players, baseball players, know who that guy is. Yeah. Football players will throw more money around because they want to be noticed, or they'll get more fucked up because they're not like as famous as their name.
Well, and their job is insecure. Like their careers last 2.5 years. But the irony, like, football players, for most sports journalists, are among, if not the easiest to deal with, like the best reputations of just being like the most solid, smartest dudes, because it's like an impossible job to have. Like, you have to, for the most part, be incredibly hardworking and dedicated and smart to get through.
Also, if there were like 15 domestic violence cases in the NHL tomorrow, you wouldn't even notice. It wouldn't even make the front page of ESPN for more than an hour. Yeah, the NFL is just so much higher profile.
Do you forgive Kareem Hunt?
It's not my place. Oh, is he gonna get a job again? He's gonna. I think.
You think he'll come back?
I think it's weird to say that guys shouldn't be able to work again.
Right.
Like in any
Ray Rice is the martyr. I get it. So, but you think Kareem Hunt gets back in?
But if Ray Rice was as good as Kareem Hunt is now, he would have gotten back in.
Right.
He was
really?
like,
You think so?
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, he's not good enough. He
everything-
wasn't as good of running back then.
That shit was brutal.
Right, but everything
That
in the
punch?
NFL is like a sliding scale of talent and sort of the offense that you did. Like a backup cornerback on the Niners, Jermaine Brock, had a domestic violence. It's like cut him immediately. Reuben Foster got it, who was a first-round pick who looked pretty good, and they waited till he did it twice for it to happen.
Got you.
Mm-hmm. Like he kept his job the first time,
Yeah.
came back, and it was
Got
only
you.
till and so if you're good enough, Kareem Hunt will definitely get back in the league.
Yeah, and I feel like that story because I just kept hearing that this chick kept calling him nigger, like screaming on the door, like let me in the house, and she's like underage and trying to drink, and I think he did the right thing. I mean, he shouldn't have punched that guy.
Stop it, man. Stop it, man. That's why I don't take you serious, man. That's why they don't take us serious, man.
All right, you're right.
You can't excuse that, man.
You can't excuse it.
That guy did. He pushed his buddy, bro. That's a white girl. You can't be pushing on the white girls, man.
I'm always just fascinated that if you hear the story, like Kareem Hunt hit and kicked an underage girl, you're just like, he might get 2 games. If there's a video, you're out for the season.
You're out.
Like it's like a Kramer at the Laugh Factory. You know what I mean? If you just hear that story, if you hear that story, you're like, oh, that's weird. If you see the video, you're like, he can never get on stage again. Yeah.
Are you saying that black people can beat white girls if they call them the N-word?
I put my hands on a girl's throat when she called me the N-word.
Isn't that what? Don't get me wrong. Isn't that what Joe Mixon did?
No, he punched that girl in the face.
But she called him an N-word first, right?
The story is that the dude called him that, and she got in the way.
She probably thought she was in heaven.
So, so violence. So violence
It's too bad we're not like videotaping this for your social hit or something.
So violence is excused if you're verbally pushed too far.
You're right. I'm not saying it's excused. I'm just saying
It doesn't
there's a
excuse
reason.
it, but it is an excuse.
Thank
you know what I
you.
mean?
Yeah,
if,
there's a
if I'm like,
reason.
Moses, why'd you beat that guy up? He's like, you called me the N-word. I'd be like, I understand.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, he got what he's coming to,
Maybe
yeah.
you could have done it without violence, but I understand, violence in that moment.
Yeah, where's your white guilt, NFL?
What can I call a white guy so that it's okay he whoops my ass?
Nothing.
And you know-
What can he call? What can
And
you
you
call
know
a
I
white
have a
guy?
problem with that.
You can call me again to do your podcast.
We should skip on that, right? Is that it?
That's
the end?
it.
That's
It's
a good end.
not gonna
We'll
get
just
better
keep
than that.
going a bunch of shit that's not going to get it. But
Plug. What you guys? Where can we find you guys?
The Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project
What?
is the podcast. Check it out on iTunes or wherever podcasts are sold. You want to plug something?
Sure, check out Around the NFL podcast too.
That's like a
Why
real
not?
football podcast. I got an Australian tour coming up, maybe some other countries to be added at the end of February, beginning of March, and a new TV show that's just signed a showrunner. Going to start working on that soon. Come be out in the summer.
Sick.
Taped a special, Fire in the Maternity Ward. You can see that this year on
great
Netflix.
name.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. And yeah, that's it. Just a podcast.
where's your
really.
new TV show going? It's not.
It's
Is
Comedy
it going
Central.
here?
Yeah.
Holy, you're back.
Oh yeah.
He's back.
With a
When
vengeance.
is it gonna go on air?
They said June, but
Oh,
it's like
soon.
an evergreen show. So like we can it's 6 episodes. We can tape them whenever, and then we'll put it together and hopefully film them right when I get back from Australia.
What kind of show is it?
Welcome back.
It's like an interview show, where it's just like me and one other comedian, kind of like a Charlie Rose for comics, where like every question I'll ask them will be a joke.
Okay.
But we'll actually have real conversations too. So it's like we'll just talk for an hour and then edit it down to 22 minutes and throw it and use some clips, throw some clips in from other stand-ups, kind of talk about people we liked and didn't like, and have some fun.
Sounds like a good show, man. Don't forget the roast battle when we come back, man.
Oh, trust me. No one's going to. I don't think you can do it without me at this point.
Hey,
man.
here.
I believe that, man.
Anthony Jeselnik presents Roast Battle.
I believe that. I work for him. Let's get it.
Hey, thank you. You're a legend, Greg. Seriously.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate
Thank
you. being here.
Thank you for having me.
Man. It's a good show.